Rams house. It is cutting season. And no, not that type of cutting season. It's that type of year where all NFL teams are looking for a little bit of extra cap space. And that usually comes in the form of some cuts and some releases. Rams aren't quite in that position as desperately as some others. We're in a position to benefit from it, though. There's a few guys hitting the market that I think the Rams could sign over the next few weeks that could be great additions to this team. We're going to talk about 4 of them in today's show. But before we get into it, I got to show you guys something pretty cool here. So, lately, merch has been a big focus here at Chat Sports, and the Rams Report is finally getting a little bit of love on that front. So if you guys are interested in our brand new Heart Snatcher t-shirts featuring our boy Matthew Stafford, a little bit of a reference to the wild card playoff win against the Carolina Panthers where Stafford said, let's go snatch these guys' hearts to Devontae Adams, and then obviously went out and did just that. Let me know in the comments, and I'll let the bosses know, hey, the Rams family, the RAMILY, they want these shirts bad. We need to get them listed as soon as humanly possible, and we'll make that happen for you guys. So if you want a Heart Snatcher t-shirt, let me know in the comments below. And let's get into this thing. So a lot of our cut candidates today are coming from an article written by Matt Okada for the NFL's official page. I thought it was actually pretty funny when I was looking for pictures of him. One of the first one that came up is a picture in our very own SoFi. He posted it on Twitter with hashtag Rams House. So a little bit of an honorary member of the RAMILY Matt is. And we're going to go through the cut candidates that he had for the Los Angeles, or not for the Los Angeles Rams, but for the teams in the NFL. He did have one for the Rams, but we're going to talk about a few that I think would be excellent additions to this team. Before we get into his list, hit the like button on today's video for me, guys, because we are trying to break a record on today's show. Our all-time like record is 833. Said that a couple weeks ago. If we could get over that in today's show, that would be absolutely enormous. So take 2 seconds for me and hit that like button. Let's get into our cut candidates while you do so. Number 1, Tyreek Hill. And he's already been released. So you know this is going to be a great list because our number 1 of our cut candidates, he was already cut. So, hey, we're on the right track. Just kidding. But I do think he is a notable potential sign for the Rams. Somebody that I've seen a lot of people discussing in Rams Twitter as could we go out and get Tyreek Hill? I think it would be interesting for sure. Why did Miami ultimately decide to part ways with him? Same reason most teams do in the end of things. Adam Schefter posted, and it saved them a whopping $22.8 million against the cap to make this release. I don't believe they designated him as a post-June 1st cut. If they had done that, it would have saved them as much as $35 million. But that's really what this came down to for Miami at the end of the day. You had to move on from Tyreek Hill because they're extremely cap-strapped already. Have to figure out a way to get Tua off the books, and he's going to be expensive. And they just couldn't afford this guy at the end of the day. It didn't make sense for them. But does it make sense for us? I saw this tweet from Jake Ellenbogen, who I think very good Rams content creator. I know a lot of you guys probably are familiar with him. And he said, I have issues with Tyreek Hill's past and the legal stuff in limbo, but I could actually see the Rams signing him as a Deshaun Jackson type of piece they had in the Super Bowl season. Obviously, it's an all-in year for Stafford. We're lacking a speed threat. He might be affordable, and if he's not suspended, keep an eye on this one. And I absolutely see where Jake and a lot of other Rams fans are coming from on this one. Tyreek Hill is a future Hall of Famer, likely first ballot at that. And he was good last season at over age 30 before he went down with an utterly gruesome leg injury. He had 21 catches for 265 yards, averaging almost 12 yards per catch, a touchdown, and only 1 drop on nearly 30 targets. He remains a very effective deep threat, someone who can really stretch the field and one of the most elite guys with the ball in his hands in the NFL. But is he going to play in 2026? I think that's the question that not enough people are really asking with Tyreek Hill. I think there's a rush to go out and get a big weapon for the offense and not a lot of concern for the gruesome leg injury that knocked him out last season. David Chow, Pro Football Doc, he posted Tyreek Hill was released by the Dolphins with another surgery still ahead. He's unlikely to return until late this season, and it's possible he won't be back until next year. This type of injury, given his style of play, falls into the career-threatening category. And I don't disagree. At the end of the day, you can have your opinions about Pro Football Doc. I know he's not 100% right all of the time, and obviously he's not evaluating Tyreek Hill in person, but he is a doctor, and I don't think he's that far off on this one, guys. I don't think Tyreek Hill's going to play in 2026. At least I don't think he's going to play significant time due to the injury. And the other point that Jake Ellenbogen mentioned that I think is worth mentioning, that a lot of Rams fans have mentioned, you add that in, plus the baggage that comes with this guy, the off the field issues that come with this guy, the locker room issues that come with this guy, the problems he's had in Miami, both obviously legally and also problems settling into that locker room, being a consistent team player. I don't want him on the Rams at the end of the day. I am not interested in adding Tyreek Hill. A couple other guys I might actually be interested in, though. Starting with Jaylon Johnson, corner from the Bears. And this one might surprise you as a cut candidate. If you are not too into the financial end of the NFL, this one may come out of nowhere. Because Jaylon Johnson has been a great corner for a while. He's a top 10 player in the NFL at his position for the last couple of seasons before being set back by an injury this year. And he might be a cut candidate. Here's what Matt Okada had to say about it. Johnson carries a $24.5 million cap hit in 2026, and the Bears could save $15.5 million by designating him as a post-June 1st release, their most lucrative option for that designation on the entire roster. Also, Johnson's 58.7 overall defensive grade from PFF ranks 68th out of 98 corners with 400-plus snaps in 2025, and his 12.2 yards allowed per target was 7th most among corners with 20-plus targets. He is still young, but Chicago could do a lot with that cap space if general manager Ryan Poles decides Johnson's not worth the price tag anymore. I think it's very possible that they move on from him, and we've talked a lot about this corner room. It isn't good enough. It needs new faces. It needs new additions. It needs new blood at the end of the day. But is Jaylon Johnson the blood that we need in the corner room? I have questions about that. I don't think he's a bad football player. I think he's shown much better play in his career than what he showed in 2025. But the other issue with Jaylon Johnson at the end of the day that you can't get back on track, unlike his play in the 2025 season, is he isn't a very big guy at the end of the day. At 6'6", I believe 190 pounds, he's just not the size presence. Or excuse me, I said 6'6". He's 6 foot flat. At 190. If he was 6'6", we'd sign him yesterday. If he's 6 foot, 190 pounds, I don't think he's the size presence that we want in the secondary for the price tag that he's going to be. The guys that I've talked about primarily going after in the secondary in free agency are all over 6 feet tall, all at least 6'1". Jamel Dean, 6'1", 206. Jalen Watson, 6'2", 197. Reek Woolen is a whopping 6'4", 210 pounds. Now, I don't think at the end of the day, a 1 to 2 inch difference should be like, okay, we're totally off the board on signing Jaylon Johnson, but I do think it should give you a little bit more pause on signing Jaylon Johnson, especially if that's going to be a massive monetary commitment, which with these corners, especially the higher end ones, it absolutely can be. And when he's coming off of one of the worst seasons of his career statistically, he isn't what I think we need in terms of his size. I don't think you want to overpay with this player. Yes, he's better than some of the guys we trotted out at corner this year. I won't deny that. I do think he'd improve the position, but I do think we can improve the position more substantially with other names. 2 of which we're going to get into later in today's show. But before we do that, before we get into it, if you want to see the Rams sign a corner in free agency, if you want to see the Rams bring home someone to upgrade this secondary, like today's video, Doesn't have to be somebody we've talked about in today's show. If it isn't, if there's a name that you're hearing here, you're like, man, I really wish he would talk about this guy. If I haven't talked about him at all, especially, put his name down in the comments. Let me know who's on your mind that you would love to see the Rams sign. But if you want to see the Rams add a corner, like this video. And a corner I think that could be really interesting. Denzel Ward from the Cleveland Browns. And some of you guys are going to call me a bit of a hypocrite here. And that's understandable. It's kind of fair. Ward is actually smaller than Jaylon Johnson. He's a 5'11" corner. But I do think he's the better player. I do think he's been better over his career. And he would be another pretty surprising cut, given that he's been great for the Cleveland Browns, given how good he's been in Cleveland. But again, it comes back to cap space. It comes back to some bad decisions that the Browns have made over the last few years when it comes to team building, especially that Deshaun Watson contract eaten up a lot of their cap space. And that may make Ward expendable. Here's what Matt had to say. Cleveland is $2.3 million under the cap and needs heavy improvement across all areas of the roster to work its way out of the AFC North cellar. Given what he's meant to the team for the better part of a decade, this would be a more surprising cut, but it also might make sense as Cleveland looks to the future under new head coach Todd Monken. And unlike Jaylon Johnson, Denzel Ward, if he does hit the market, he's not coming off of the worst season of his career. This is why I forgive him a little bit more for the size deficiency. Obviously, this would be another smaller corner coming into the Rams secondary. I know a lot of us, myself included, we don't want to see that. At the end of the day, we want bigger guys in the secondary. I do feel like that's been part of the issue, but he does not play like a 5'11", 190-pound guy. Honestly, it surprised me when I was looking to double check exactly what his measurables are that he is that small because he just plays bigger. You would think he's 6'2". How disruptive, how high he can jump, how physical he is at the catch point. It's kind of presence we haven't had in a while. He's always around the ball. I think he had 19 pass breakups in 2024, another 9 this season. And he's a great scheme fit. He's a really heavy zone corner and a very successful zone corner in Cleveland. Whereas Jaylon Johnson mostly played his best football in man. That's the other big gap I think I have with Ward and Johnson. Johnson, mostly a successful man corner. That's not our scheme. We are a heavy zone scheme. I feel like Ward makes a little bit more sense despite the size concerns. He's been better and more consistent throughout his career, and he's a better scheme fit. One last guy, and this is the big surprise. This is the one that I feel like will come out of nowhere for some of you guys. Cole Kmet, a tight end. I know. The Bears tight end, he might hit the market this offseason. And it doesn't make sense to a lot of you guys, I'm sure, that we would go after the tight end position right now. But I think you have to understand the way the Rams have approached this position over the last few years. They're looking for a true difference maker right now. They're looking for somebody to step up and take over, and they love the tight end position. At the end of the day, they've taken a lot of shots at it. They ran a ton of 13 personnel, the most 13 personnel of any team in the NFL this season, and they ran it beautifully, might I add, having 3 tight ends on the field a lot. They traded for Hunter Long in 2023. And that was part of the Jalen Ramsey trade, adding a name to that tight end room. Signed Colby Parkinson in 2024, and then added Terrence Ferguson in 2025 to that as well. So a lot of names have come into this Rams tight end room, but I don't think that they're done adding. And I think there's a chance that they want to build around this guy right here, and Terrence Ferguson could need a sidekick for the long term. And that could be Colby Parkinson, but it could also be Cole Kmet. Here's what Sean McVay had to say about Terrence Ferguson recently in his end of season media session. He said, I do think he had a really good rookie season, and I think the best is yet to come. He's everything and that much more that I hoped he would be, and I had tremendously high hopes for him. I think that he's going to be a huge part of what we're going to do for years to come. So you may be listening to this and going, this doesn't make sense. All of this is trending towards Terrence Ferguson being the long-term tight end. Where does Cole Kmet fit into the picture? Well, remember, Tyler Higbee is an unrestricted free agent. And note that Colby Parkinson, who is currently listed as tight end 1, could be released to save the Rams $7 million. Imagine you go out and get Cole Kmet on a pretty cheap prove-it deal, let Terrence Ferguson step up, and if he can't do it, if he's not ready like we think he is, you have Cole Kmet to fall back on. We can't risk things at the tight end position with just Terrence Ferguson, but you could take some risks if you had Cole Kmet as a fallback option. Now, granted, you could just hold on to Colby. And I think at the end of the day, that might be what they do. But if the deal with Cole Kmet is cheaper than holding on to Colby Parkinson, I do think it's more possible than others might that the Rams move off of Colby Parkinson to give Terrence Ferguson a bigger role and pick up somebody like Cole Kmet to be the backup option, to be that second guy in the tight end room, and a totally fine fallback if Terrence Ferguson proves to not be as ready as you hoped to fill in as tight end 1. Let me know what you think about that, and let me know who you would pick. Of the 4 options we discussed today, I want you to pick one of these guys. If the Rams could only sign one of them in free agency this offseason, who would you want to see them go out and get? Tyreek Hill, give me a TH. Denzel Ward, give me a DW. Jaylon Johnson, give me a JJ. Cole Kmet, give me a CK. Let me know in the comments. As always, let's go Rams, and we will see you in the next one.